Happy Friday, lovely ladies who are catching me, whether you are in my private group, the SAS Tribe, or whether you are actually now watching on the Coach V YouTube channel. Either way, I'm so glad that you are tuning in for this week's MIT training video, motivation, inspiration, transformation, because that's what I'm all about when it comes to helping my women, my ladies, should I say, just breaking those unhealthy relationship patterns, having better dating strategies so you all can land a happy, healthy, holy relationship. That is what I am all about ultimately. This video is actually going to be for the woman who is tired of ending up in the same situations with different men. We are talking about breaking patterns, okay? And what I want to talk about is a little bit of self betrayal. What I do know is that self betrayal will cause you to unknowingly block the relationship that you are praying for. You will block the love that you are desiring. And we need to do something about that. And ultimately, what self betrayal is, whether or not that is a term that you are familiar with, it's you choosing against yourself. It's choosing against your values, your needs, your truth, whatever, in order to be chosen, in order to avoid conflict, maybe even just to escape loneliness. So, what you have to understand is that, as I always say, unhealed wounds, what they do is they create patterns and they create cycles relationally. And until you heal them, you will repeat them, no matter how much you pray for something new. So, it's time for you to heal it so that you don't repeat it. And there are reasons why we do self betray, right? And some people don't even realize that it is. I get to go a little bit deeper. I get to actually have those interactions every single week. I get to ask more questions and learn more about my clients individually speaking. And of course, and that's when it comes up that there were things, from the past, from the childhood, from mom, dad, whoever the case might be. I find out what the dynamics were like, why they view love the way that they do, why they view themselves the way that they do, why they have dated the men that they've dated. So childhood modeling plays a large part, and again, based on the love and affection and validation that you did or did not receive from one or both parents, it will determine what you actually do in this season when it comes to men. And you might find yourself even now trying to perform or earn love from someone. So, childhood modeling is one of the root causes when it comes to self betrayal. Another one, of course, would be abandonment wounds. When you fear of losing that connection, anytime there's that fear of loss, it's going to make you tolerate less than you deserve. You can see the red signs with the person, but then, of course, you also have the spiritual side, right? That is telling you to pray, be patient, all of these things. But the emotional side is saying, like, I crave this connection. I don't want to be left. Like, even if you're the one who needs to walk away, you fear not having that closeness. As women, our most basic needs are love and belonging. We want connection, we want relationships. And when abandonment wounds are present, you crave it even more, and the thought of losing it or not having it or that connection being broken, it really does something to you. So you will tolerate way less than you deserve. Another root cause, low self-worth. This is where you don't believe that you actually deserve what it is you're asking for. That's another thing I like about my breakout program, because I really get to go deep with these women and find out what it is they want, what it is they believe about love, making sure they have that healthy view of what love is. And then it's like, once we get to that point and saying, okay, so this is what real love looks like, this is what a healthy relationship looks like in your opinion, this is what ultimately you would want. Now, do you actually believe that you deserve that? And that is where self worth comes into play. So when you have low self worth, that is something that will cause you to accept the bare minimum, accept the wrong men, settle, repeat patterns, the whole nine. That is another root cause of self betraying behavior. Another one being false agreements. Whether it's you saying, I'm too much, or I'm asking for too much, or men like me don't exist, or the kind of man that I want, he just doesn't exist, or he doesn't want me, or I can't find him, or I'm going to have to settle to be loved, or maybe maybe my standards are too high. Those are all false agreements that I'm going to need you to come out of agreement with. Your nervous system will always choose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace if you don't rewire it. Again, you have to heal it. Otherwise, you are going to repeat it. Now, let me give you a few signs that you're actually in a cycle of self betrayal. Maybe you don't even realize it. here in this season of your life. One would be saying yes when you want to say no. This is also people pleasing behavior, which ties to abandonment issues because you crave the love, the connection, the validation, and everything. You don't want to be rejected, abandoned, left, or anything, or disconnected from. You will people please. You will be a little bit of a pushover. Maybe you even compromise more than you should. You let others have their way. You're where love is selfless, right? But it doesn't mean that you completely neglect yourself. So, signs that you might be self betraying is that you actually say yes, even those times that you want to say no. Or maybe when it comes to men, maybe you ignore red flags because you don't want to start over. I've been there before where it was like, okay, I think I'm seeing some things in this relationship, but look, I'm just ready to be done. I don't want to have to go back into these dating streets. Like, I just, whatever, like, and I would honestly, like, subconsciously, I would try to downplay the things that I saw because I did not feel like starting over in another relationship. That is self betraying behavior. Maybe you overgive to prove your worth. Maybe you go out of your way to give or to serve or to do, which ultimately that is you performing and you're hoping that someone is going to see you as worthy. Don't do that. Maybe you are someone who shrinks or silences your needs just to keep someone around. That is something that I used to do. I would make sure that the person's needs were met. They were good to go. They were happy. They were satisfied. But I would silence my needs. I wouldn't even want to state my needs. I didn't want them to think I was too needy. I didn't want to be rejected, whatever. So I would shrink myself just a little bit just to keep a man around. Maybe you find yourself dating men who actually mirror your unhealed wounds. That is something that I also went through where it was like, okay, like this relationship, like cool, let's get to know this guy and see what's what. And then ultimately, I ended up realizing some things that I had not dealt with. I also realized that he was a mirror for me in many ways. And it was the unhealed parts of me. So then it was like, okay, now you have a decision to make. Like, are you going to stay or are you going to leave? Right. So you want to make sure that you are not dating men who mirror the unhealed version of yourselves. Maybe you see yourself in some of these examples that I've used, right? Or maybe there's something else that you can think of. Either way, these are going to be the signs that you are in a cycle of self betrayal. And I need you to stop them because, like I said, self betrayal will ultimately block you from the love that you desire, from the relationship you desire, from the marriage that you're praying for, right? And I want to make sure that you get out of those habits so that you can get to where it is that you want to be. Because, like I said, self betrayal will absolutely block all of those things. You can find yourself, there's almost like an attraction to dysfunction because your nervous system has you thinking that trauma bonds are actually chemistry. This is why a lot of people, a lot of women, when they meet a man, it's like, oh, okay, he was boring or it was something. I didn't really feel the sparks. I didn't feel the butterflies. Oftentimes what's being referred to is chemistry, like we feel the butterflies and all of those different things. We want that excitement, right? Because our nervous system has gotten used to things exciting, which excitement is not always good. Sometimes it's okay for things to be calm, peaceful, and safe. Yes, you want to be in love with the person, right? But it doesn't have to be the way that the movies and other things have made us believe that it is, or even just the way that you are now wired because of things that you have gone through. In my book, No More Lonely Nights, I even talk about how there's this thing called love addiction. And that's something that's actually scientifically proven. And I talk about it in depth because I also realize there's a certain phase of a relationship that you can get to where if you are also addicted to love, it's almost like you will cause drama because now your body has actually associated love with drama. So there are all of these things you will end up doing in a relationship because of how you have been because of how you've been wired, and you have to be rewired. Sabotaging healthy love is not the way to go. So, step one is going to be awareness. Y'all know I'm very big on talking about awareness, right? You need to identify when, where, and with whom you find yourself betraying yourself, right? Like ultimately, when you think about the patterns that you have, is there a certain time that it happens, right? Do you find yourself lonely, even more lonely at certain times of year, certain seasons? A lot of people go through that. Like there's a reason why I know that I have to be very intentional with certain things around Valentine's and around the holidays because that is where a lot of women get very lonely. So I know the when when it comes to those things. Where matters as well. With whom? Is there a certain type of man that you might find yourself, you end up betraying yourself because of what that man actually does to you? And again, your nervous system and your attachment style. So just being aware of your patterns. This is why I always talk about, kind of going on that field trip, going on that journey, and really reflecting on the men that you have dated and what it was that each of those men provided, how they made you feel, whatever the case might be. Number two, audit your agreements. You have to break the mental contracts that you keep in cycles, right? You want to ensure that you are being very mindful of the things that you are speaking over yourself, over your dating life, over your future relationships. What agreements have you made? Like, listen, I'm very big on Proverbs 18:21. All right, life and death truly are in the power of the tongue, but also your thoughts. I want you to audit the agreements that you are making, the things that you are coming into full agreement with, because these things will ultimately determine your actions, your steps, and things like that. Step three, build self trust. You have to get to the point where you actually can trust yourself. And truth be told, I know that this is something that takes work. When I speak with women a lot of times, and I'm asking, okay, you say that you want this kind of relationship now. Do you actually? Step four, I'm always talking about rewiring. You literally have to rewire your brain, rewire your nervous system. It's like pretty much retraining yourself so that you can heal, so that you can think differently, so that you can speak differently, so that you can do things differently in order for you to attract what it is you are now desiring and deserve. Maybe it's going to be a matter of you just sometimes pausing, right? So that you're not reacting, so that you can actually be calm, so that you can be at peace, right? There's no anxiety or anything like that. Maybe it's going to be a matter of you journaling, especially when it comes to journaling your triggers. I know that some people don't really whatever when it comes to journaling, but then others, I like those who know the benefits of journaling. But when you really start writing and jotting down your feelings, whether you're doing it in a matter of almost like you're talking to somebody else about you, talking in general, talking to God, whatever, thinking about the things that actually trigger you and that bother you, because it's going to give you so much more insight. A lot of times when we can actually write or speak things, healing a lot of times comes in that manner. This is why, like, even when it comes to coaching, anyone who has worked with me one on one, outside of the assignments and things like that, like, I'm not that person where it's like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, try like all of these things. It is a matter of me, it's like conversation, but it's like I'm also asking questions, because I know the questions that I ask as my clients are answering, that's also when their aha moment is happening. That's also when they are healing and just different things like that. And it's like they're healing and learning and growing just from speaking and writing. You'll be amazed at what that can do. Also, replacing reactions with reflections. Often we're so quick to want to do something, right? Like anytime something happens, whether it's been disappointment, like with a man or whatever else the case might be, we want to react, whether it's sending that text message or whatever the case might be. What if you were to just pause and reflect? Pause and really think, why am I about to do this? Why am I bothered? What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this? Is this the real emotion? Is there another emotion under this emotion? What is the underlying emotion? What is the undesired? Like, really going through that process of reflection, you'll be amazed at things that actually will come to mind, and you will learn so much more about yourself that just takes you to a complete different level of awareness. And then step five, I want you to then choose differently in real time. And what I mean by that, I want you to make one choice this week that is going to honor you instead of betraying you. Maybe it's something that came to mind in this video where you're realizing, like, yeah, I actually have been betraying myself. When I'm thinking about what it is that I really want, there is one thing that I can stop doing or start doing that is truly going to get me closer to what it is I am wanting. I love me some Ephesians 4:22-24, where it talks about putting off the old self, renewing your mind, and putting on the new self, right? God can't give you new wine if you insist on staying in the old wineskins, ultimately. So you have to decide what you are going to do differently. Let prayer be a part of your rewiring. Prayer is obviously, as you all know, very powerful and beneficial when it comes to breaking agreements and declaring new truths. So let that be something that you also consider when it comes to you healing in this season so that you are not repeating things from the previous seasons. I really want you to reflect over these next few minutes once I shut up and stop talking, thinking about what self betraying behaviors have you been engaging in? Where did they come from? And then being real with yourself like, okay, wow, this is how it's actually been blocking me from the relationship that I have been wanting. Listen,